Peace. Welcome to another episode. You are tuned in to Favored Energy. I am your host, Favored Energy. And tonight, we will be talking about inspiring accountability. But first, before we begin, I want to say good evening to my Bigo Live family. And again, good evening to my YouTube family. Now, we're doing a show that was meant for a Friday, so I'm going to read Friday's verse of inspiration. But beginning tomorrow, we will get back on track and pick up with Tuesday's inspiration. And so, the passage or verse of the day comes out of Acts chapter 22, verse 16, which reads, "The crowd listened to Paul until he said this. Then they raised their voices and shouted, 'Rid the earth of him. He's not fit to live.'" Today's author is Max Lucado. And the title of tonight's passage is Sin Meets Savior. Ananias' instructions to Paul are worth reading. "What are you waiting for? Get up, be baptized, and wash your sins away, calling on his name." He didn't have to be told twice. The legalist Saul was buried and the liberator Paul was born. He was never the same afterwards, and neither was the world. Steering sermons, dedicated disciples, and 6,000 miles of trails. If his sandals weren't slapping, his pen was writing. If he wasn't explaining the mystery of grace, he was articulating the theology that would determine the course of Western civilization. All of his words could be reduced to one sentence: "We preach Christ crucified." And you can reference 1 Corinthians 1:23. It wasn't that he lacked other sermon outlines. It was just that he couldn't exhaust the first one. Paul never took a course in missions. He never sat on a committee meeting. He never read a book on church growth. He was just inspired by the Holy Spirit and punch drunk on the love that makes that impossible possible: salvation. The message is gripping. Show a man his failures without Jesus, and the result will be found in the roadside gutter. Give a man religion without reminding him of his filth, and the result will be arrogance in a three-piece suit. But get the two in the same heart. Get sin to meet Savior and Savior to meet sin, and the result just might be another Pharisee turned preacher who sets the world on fire. And so tonight's reading has inspired the topic of today, which is inspiring accountability. Now, what comes to mind when you think of accountability? One thing I've realized, and more over the years, in order for the world to change, we have to change, and this means taking responsibility and being accountable to ourselves. Yes, accountability for everything in our lives, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. I know this is not easy sometimes. However, I have found we have to go within and find places that are stuck. We have to release them, and then we have to have the choice of how we respond. Just like Viktor Frankl indicated, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. A lot of people don't like taking accountability because it sheds the light on an ugly truth that some people don't like to deal with regarding themselves. So they tend to push accountability off on someone or something else. So I hope the following quotes inspire you to move towards 100% accountability for your life and well-being. So the first quote that I have says, at the end of the day, we are accountable to ourselves. Our success is a result of what we do. That comes from Catherine Pulsifer. There are two primary choices in life: to accept conditions as they exist or accept the responsibility for changing them. Dennis Waitley. We have the choice of, again, accepting the conditions the way they are, or you can get motivated and you can start taking responsibility to change them. Now, no one is telling you that it's going to be easy, it's going to be something quick. Sometimes change does take time. The reason people blame things on the previous generation is that there's only one other choice. Let me read that again. The reason people blame things on the previous generation is there's only one other choice, which is the current generation now. There is a such thing as generational curses, and the things that your parents exposed you to as a child that help mold and groom you to the adult that you are today. But it comes a point in your life to where you have to stop blaming how you were raised, what you experienced as a child. You're a grown now. You're a grown adult with the decision to know you're not ruled by those situations anymore. They're over. You're not a child. You're not still living, under that situation unless you're choosing to. And if you are aware that that's not now, that this is your childhood is not your current present, I think it's wise and healthy to go ahead and take steps into getting, yourself together mentally. And so the reason people blame things on the previous generation is that there's only one other choice. That comes from Doug Larson. Accountability breeds response ability. Accountability breeds response ability. Stephen Covey. It is wrong and immoral to seek to escape the consequences of one's acts. Mahatma Gandhi. It is wrong and immoral to seek to escape the consequences. So what this is saying to me is that those individuals that will create a storm, they will go around, they will make choices, they will make decisions, they will create a storm, and then once that storm has risen and now it's starting to rain and it's lightning and thunder and winds are blowing because of the choices that was made, now folks are trying to play victim and they want to get out of the storm. Well, you can't cry when it starts to rain from the storm you created. All of the choices that you make have positive consequences or negative consequences. But at the end of the day, you are going to get a consequence based on the action that you perform. Number 6, you may believe that you are responsible for what you do, but not for what you think. The truth is that you are responsible for what you think, because it is only at this level that you can exercise choice. What you do comes from what you think. Marianne Williamson said those words. You may believe that you are responsible for what you do, but not for what you think. It starts on a mental level. The car that you currently drive every day, that car started off as a thought in somebody's mind. If you ride a train, before that train was created, it started off as a thought in someone's mind. If you ride the bus, before you get on that bus, before that bus was even created, that bus was a thought in someone's mind. No matter what method of transportation you use to get to and from, whether it's a scooter, bike, skates, it started off as a thought in someone's mind, and they created it, and now it's here on the physical plane. So before you carry out an act, whether you give it thought or you just decide to act without thinking, that's still a personal responsibility or accountability that you have to take. It's your thought. And so what you do comes from what you think. If you let other people do it for you, they will do it to you. Robert Anthony. If you let other people do it for you, they will do it to you. Some people will, I got your back, and they really do have your back. And then the moment that y'all are not seeing eye to eye, that person then turns on you, and when they were once defending you and maybe telling people off about you or whatever, now they turning in and they're doing the same thing to you that they did for you. So if you let other people do it for you, if you let someone speak on your behalf to tell someone off, don't be surprised when they wind up telling you off. That's just an example that I'm using. Number 8, when we fail to set boundaries and hold people accountable, we feel used and mistreated. This is why we sometimes attack who they are, which is far more hurtful than addressing a behavior or a choice. And that comes from Brene Brown. Again, number 8 says, when we fail to set boundaries and hold people accountable, we feel used and mistreated. When you start setting healthy boundaries, people don't have access to you like you once allowed them to. And a lot of people will get so upset when you don't allow them to use you like they want to. People will really get mad when you start setting healthy boundaries and you start holding people accountable. No one really likes to be held all the way accountable. And a person that's not ready to grow and face, those ugly behaviors, they definitely are not going to take kind to what you're saying about their behavior. Number 9, we hardly ever realize that we can cut anything out of our lives, anytime, in the blink of an eye. That comes from Carlos Castaneda. Again, we hardly ever realize that we can cut anything out of our lives anytime in the blink of an eye. You have that power all day, every day. Now, whether you are codependent on a person, that may be different. But however, you can cut anyone off at any time. You can cut anything off at any time. Accountability separates the wishers in life from the action takers that care enough about their future to account for their daily actions. John D. LeMay. Let me say that one more time. Accountability separates the wishers in life from the action takers that care enough about their future to account for their daily actions. So you have people that will sit back and they will wish and dream all day. And you ask them, well, when you gonna get started with your dreams? Is your one day going to turn into day one? If you hold yourself accountable and you start looking at what's going on around you, let's just say you supposed to start a business, but you keep saying that there's little things that's prohibiting you from getting started, but those little things turn out to be your procrastination on getting started. Accountability separates the wishers from the action takers, because you know what, I got all this time on my hand, I'm just sitting here, I ain't doing that, let me go ahead and get started on this, let me just take steps to get this going, versus a person that's constantly talking about what they want to do and one day they might be able to, but they're not taking any steps to make that happen. In the long run, we shape our lives and we shape ourselves. The process never ends until we die. And the choices we make are ultimately our own responsibility. That comes from Eleanor Roosevelt. So again, in the long run, we shape our lives and we shape ourselves. So however you were brought up, you were raised, those characteristics that you were taught as a child, number 11 lets you know we shape our lives. So your parents were responsible only for a fraction of your life, making sure you made it to adulthood. Now from that point, you are capable of learning new ways, new behaviors, new thought processes. You can do that if you take responsibility for your growth and you take accountability for your behaviors and your actions. Number 12, 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. That comes from George Washington Carver. Again, 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. Excuses, in short, excuses build bridges that lead to nowhere. Excuses are tools that are used to build bridges that lead to nowhere. Number 13, responsibility equals accountability. So responsibility equals accountability equals ownership. And a sense of ownership is the most powerful weapon a team or organization can have. Pat Summitt. Everyone wants to own something. You want your name on it. So in the sense of accountability, responsibility equals accountability equals ownership. You're owning. Once you get to the point to where you own Your responsibility and accountability, oh man, you are a force to be reckoned with. And with those healthy boundaries that you create from taking accountability for your actions, then you are willing to speak up when it comes to others trying to speak against you for the steps you're taking to better yourself. You won't allow people to use you so easily or at all. Accountability is the measure of a leader's height. Jeffrey Benjamin. If you are following someone that doesn't take accountability, you're following someone that's dead inside. The moment you get to the point to where you are above criticism and critique, it is never your fault. It's always somebody else's fault. I would argue that you may be borderline, if not wholeheartedly narcissistic, but you're definitely dead inside. There's no more growth coming from you. And if you're following a person that's dead inside, they don't take any type of responsibility nor accountability, well, you're going down a dark road where you're going to end a lot of friendships and other relationships. Don't nobody want to deal with someone who always casts everything off on somebody or something else. Most people do not really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility, and goals fall strictly on our own shoulders. Thomas Mack. There was a, theory, and it's not just a theory, it's actual truth that back in, time of slavery, once the slaves were set free, some of them did not want to take responsibility of their own freedom. So they chose to stay because that's all they knew. And a lot of people, if you think about it, most people do not really want freedom because it's gonna fall all on you. You are totally responsible for you. And the same thing goes for success. You can interchange the word freedom out for success, and you can say most people do not really want success because success involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. Success meaning, or in the understanding that, man, some people really don't want to make it out of the situation. They know how to operate within the chaotic dysfunction. They are powerful within that because in that they can be a victim. They can cry and possibly get people to come and show them attention. All of that. And so you got to get to the point to where you choose, I'm going to be free. I'm going to take accountability and responsibility for my own actions, my goals, where I'm headed. I'm going to take responsibility for it. And so that quote comes from Sigmund Freud. In dreams begin responsibility. That's just point blank. In dreams begin responsibility. W.B. Yeats. In reality, we all have our lives, and the accountability for achievement of our dreams and goals falls strictly on our shoulders. In reality, we all have our lives, and the accountability for achievement of our dreams and goals falls strictly on our shoulders. So it's just point blank, period, the end when it comes to this statement. If you take accountability for your achievement, your dreams, and your goals, well then if you fall short, I will say that's what separates the best from the week. That's what, if let's take for instance, LeBron James. What's going on, Torito? Let's take for instance, like I said, LeBron James. In reality, we have our lives and accountability for our achievement. That man eats, sleep, and breathe basketball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to the point to where he's a billionaire in the game. All the goals, his dreams, it all fell on his shoulders. 3 o'clock in the morning, you got people that are up. They hungry, going after their goals. Where, you have other persons that feel like sleep is more important. What's important to you? That quote comes from Thomas Matt. In reality, we all have our lives, and accountability for achievement of our dreams and goals fall strictly on our own shoulders. Eventually, we all have to accept full and total responsibility for our actions, everything we have done and have not done. You got to take responsibility for what you have done and what you haven't done, because you may be thinking about taking a certain action, and a lot of people don't take into effect that even the thoughts you think, you got to be accountable for, because it's from those thoughts that you take action. Whether you take full action on a thought, or you change it up, whatever the case may be, the actions that you take come from a thought that you had, right? And so that's why you have to take accountability for what has not been done, what you have not done. Because whatever you decide to do, again, you're going to do it based off a thought that you had. All actions come from a thought first. Whether or not you think before you act, that's on you. That quote came from Hubert Selby Jr. The time is always right to do what is right. Martin Luther King Jr. The time is always right to do what is right. When a man points a finger at someone else, he should remember that 4 of his fingers are pointing at himself. You can actually, because the thumb is actually pointed in a horizontal direction. So if you really point your finger, there's 3 fingers. There's 3 fingers. These 3 fingers, when you ball them up, are pointing at you. When you point your one finger at one person, and actually you can even say your thumb is pointing, at the person. But it's no argument. There are certainly 3 fingers pointing back at you every time you point a finger at somebody else. So there's 3 fingers telling you that you should take accountability for whatever you're saying in some shape, form, or fashion. I want to thank everybody for tuning in so far. If you are just now tuning in, we are listening to, or not listening, I guess you could say you're listening to me, what I'm saying. We are going over ways to be inspired by taking accountability. Make sure you hit that like button. What's going on, beautiful Bernice? I'm glad to see you in the crowd. I'm glad to see you in the crowd. And so it's your boy Favorite Energy, and we are about to keep going. Oh, but I wasn't wrong up in my But I wasn't wrong up in my But I wasn't wrong up in my Now, accountability. Nurse Ratchet is in the house. I have family that's on the YouTube show, And for my YouTube family, I have my Bigo Live family. And so Nurse Ratchet is Nurse Ratchet is in the audience. She is a therapist, and I would love to have you come on the platform one evening, Miss Witty, and we can hold a conversation. I see a lot of your content centered around bettering yourself as well, and the daily deposits that you drop to encourage individuals. That's the type of content I love to have over here. And so I would like to invite you onto the platform one evening and we hold a conversation about ways to, self motivate, pretty much improve yourself. If you think that's something that you would like to do, let me know. Now, accountability is a key ingredient in any success, but it seems to be the one that people have most difficulty with. When we accept accountability, we put ourselves in a position where we can make the necessary changes to be successful, whereas when we look to blame, it disempowers us. The more accountable we can be, the more accountable our teams will become, and the more success we can achieve. Now, when you hold yourself accountable, when you hold yourself accountable, when you hold yourself accountable, when you take responsibility for your behaviors, now you are becoming a true leader. People will look to you for advice and want to know how do you keep going. And one of the things is holding yourself accountable. Leaders inspire accountability through their ability to accept responsibility before they place blame. Very important. That comes from Courtney Lynch. Accountability breeds responsibility. Stephen R. Covey, I said that earlier, because accountability breeds response. You're taking accountability for something that you did, an action or behavior you displayed. So you're going to respond. And the ability to respond to what you did, the behavior that you displayed, and taking accountability for that gives you even more power and strength to change that behavior. When it comes to privacy and accountability, people always demand the former for themselves and the latter for everyone else. Let me say it again. When it comes to privacy and accountability, people always demand the former for themselves. I gotta be. Nah, y'all can't see that. This for me. This is my private life, privacy. But when it comes to the accountability, no. Now it's not about the just like it was for privacy. That's my. I ain't gotta share that with y'all. That's for me. Okay, cool. The accountability, no, that's their fault. I ain't got nothing to do with me. That's what they say. That's what that quote by David Brin is saying. It is not only what we do, but also what we do not do for which we are accountable. Because you failed to turn in the assignment on time, you got a lower grade than you could have got if you turned it in on time. Because you decided to stay up late, you had a harder time getting out of bed. Your attendance has not been one in good standing at your job, and you're putting yourself more in jeopardy because you keep showing up late. All because you refuse to change the behavior so you can start getting more sleep. You know that is coming up to fall. You know, fall is right around the corner. We're in the month of July. You know that after fall comes winter. Winter comes after fall every time. It's been that way since the beginning of time, right? So that lets you know that it's going to get cold. You know that your car is known to have problems in the wintertime because cold elements reveal a lot of problems with cars, whether it be the the cold air, um, exposes how weak your battery is. The cold air exposes how dry rotted your tires are. Therefore, your tires are losing air. Whatever the case may be, you know it right now. So the question is, why aren't you taking steps right now? Right now. Why aren't you buying at least one brand new tire every time you get paid? One brand new tire could be cheaper than buying four brand new tires at one point in time. But because you're not taking small strides like that, what's gonna happen is it's gonna get cold, the car gonna break down, the tires gonna be flat, all that's gonna happen, and you gonna sit back and you gonna cast the accountability off on somewhere else, even though right now you know that you need to be taking steps right now. It's just that simple. It's that simple. But people will make it bigger than they make other things more important than their priorities, and that can come into a whole nother conversation. But as of right now, it is not only what we do, but also what we do not do. Because you fail to prepare, you got to take accountability for that. That comes from O'Leary. A body of men holding themselves accountable to nobody ought not to be trusted by anybody. A body of men holding themselves accountable to nobody ought not to be trusted by anybody. You are above criticism and critique from your peers. That's what that is saying. A body of men holding themselves accountable to nobody. No one out here in this world can hold me accountable to nothing. Nobody can critique me. I'm uncoachable. That's what I meant by you being dead on the inside. That comes from Thomas Paine. A body of men hold themselves accountable to nobody ought to be trusted by anybody. Don't trust them. Because the moment something goes south, the moment something looks shaky, they gonna push it off on somebody else anyway. So you wasting your time. You wasting your time. Steve Maraboli says, take accountability. Blame is the water in which many dreams and relationships drown. Take accountability. Blame is the water in which many dreams and relationships drown. Because you are choosing not to take accountability, you're blaming in your intimate relationship. Every time you and your girlfriend, and a lot tonight, because the passage, all of my passages comes out of the men's devotional Bible that I read. So this Bible is helping develop me as a man, the Word of God. And as a man, you have to take accountability for your actions. If you are in a intimate relationship with someone, and every time something happens, you constantly blame them, it's your fault that I acted this way. No, it's your fault. It's your fault you acted that way. The people are going to be who they are, whether they are professional button pushers, they like to act petty, whatever the case may be. If they try to get a response out of you and they are successful at getting the response out of you, you are responsible to the way you respond. You are, not them. You got to have control of your emotions. Can't blame them, because every time you pass off blame, you don't take accountability and responsibility for your emotions. You let others dictate your emotions. If they want to see you mad and act a fool, and you giving them the remote control to push the button for them to see you act a fool. And you sit back, oh, it's their fault they make me act a fool. No, it's your fault because you don't know how to deactivate that part, that sensor, that chip that's inside of you that's making you, every time they push the button, you act a fool. You have to disengage that. You got to like turn that off. You got to turn it off. Got to. Jerry Fernandez said, what you do tells me everything about you as a man and as a woman, but men. What you do tells me everything about you. How you go about handling a situation, how you if you push things off, whatever. What you do tells me everything about you. The pride of man hopes but to blame God for the evils of the world and to praise himself for the good. The pride of man hopes but to blame God for the evils of the world. It's God's fault that all this is going on. He created good and evil, so it's all God's fault. All the evil that's running around the world. And I gotta praise myself because I'm the one that got myself out of a situation and I was able to do this. That's pride. That's pride. Being responsible sometimes means pissing people off. General Colin Powell. You gotta be okay with the fact that you gonna piss everybody off. I'm gonna go ahead and say everybody. You about to piss everybody off. Why? Because you about to start taking accountability and responsibility, and that means you finna piss some folks off. Because that means they are not going to be able to use you like they are used to doing. And they gonna be mad at you. How dare you start bettering yourself? How dare you start taking accountability? Mr. himself, what's going on? How dare you? How dare you? The worst thing that can happen to you as a young person is to refuse to grow up. You refuse to grow up when you believe that someone else must take responsibility for your life and life circumstances. What's going on, Mr. himself, man? I'm just trying to educate the people on and taking accountability. Grow up. If you have children out here and you know that your child done did something and you are chastising them for whatever it is that they have done, and your child is looking you in your face and they lying, and it's making, why are you lying and just not telling the truth? It's the same thing as an adult when you do it to another adult. We are still young. I'm in my mid-30s. I'm still consider, I'm getting it on over into my older years, but I'm still young. And the worst things that we can do as men is to refuse to grow up. It's the caption with the energy and bold for me. Man, thank you. Thank you. I'm telling you, you have to grow up, man. And the moment you refuse to grow up, you remain childish in all your ways. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Childish things, one being not taking accountability. That's childish. You are the reason of your own good luck and bad luck, success and failure, happiness and pain. Your choices are responsible for your present. Don't blame someone else for your sufferings or failures. I said this last time, you isn't really the devil that's in your life causing you harm and problems, or is it the choices that you made back then coming home? Like they starting to, it's time to reap the harvest from all the stuff that you did. It's not always the devil, yo. I'm just being honest. The man who complains about the way the ball bounces is likely to be the one who dropped it. Lou Holtz. The man who complains about the way the ball bounces. The man that complains about the way the ball bounces is likely to be the one who dropped the ball. That slides us back into what I said earlier. You can't sit back and create a storm and then you get mad when it rains. The price of greatness is responsibility. Are you willing to pay that price? A lot of people can't afford the success that they want because they are not willing to pay the price of what it takes. The price of greatness is responsibility. Tom Brady is not the best quarterback in NFL history, all because he's not taking responsibility. That man literally has a clock in his workout room that counts down to the Super Bowl to help keep him driven, his mind focused. It's a reason why this man done been to 10 Super Bowls and won 7. No, it's never the devil. Some people just do devilish stuff, and that negative energy, something I don't want around me. Hey man, I'm telling you, people will sit back and create thunderstorms, tornadoes, all types of havoc. And then the moment that the weather touches down, and you definitely have to be careful of those type of individuals in your life. You missed my other comment. What you say? It's the caption with the energy and bold for me. I appreciate that, my brother. Now it's never the devil, and some people just do devilish stuff, and that negative energy something. I think I got all the comments, but if I did miss a comment, missing myself, put it back in the chat so I will catch it. I believe I got everything though. Bo DeMar says, on good teams, coaches hold players accountable. On great teams, players hold players accountable. On good teams, coaches hold players accountable. On great teams, players hold players accountable. Roll Tide is rolling because they hold. Look, Nick Saban, he doesn't just hold those boys accountable. Everybody holds each other accountable. Mr. himself said, the one when I said people don't know what energy is, they always say vibe and mood. But energy is a whole different feeling. Energy never lies. Energy tells you. Energy tells you. And if you are in tune with yourself, because you take time to be with yourself, your intuition will let you know about the company that you keep. I'm telling you, good stuff right there, Mr. Himself. You can make any promise as long as you are not going to be there to fulfill them. You can make any promises as long as you are not going to be there to fulfill them. You can make any promises. You can promise everything, but that goes back into taking accountability and responsibility to becoming a person of your word. Some people don't know what manifest is for real, for real. And see, we did a show last week talking about the 12 universal laws and how using those 12 universal laws helps you manifest things in your life, right? But even in manifestation, making promises to people and not keeping those promises is not honoring your word. And so you are letting people down every time you do that, and you're letting yourself down. So since you are letting others down, people are going to let you down. It goes hand in hand. So yeah, you can make any promises as long as you're not going to be there to fulfill them. But the consequences of that, you letting people down, and you're going to be let down. That's how it rolls. That comes from Pawan Mishra. We are all, hold on. Okay. We are all accountable for our actions, their effect and influence on our lives and the lives of others. Success on any major scale requires you to accept responsibility. In the final analysis, the one quality that all successful people have is the ability to take on responsibility. Accountability is the best ability that you can have, man. I'm just gonna be honest. Hold on. Make sure I get all the comments. Some people don't know what commitment is. And when you do for people, they try and use it. They try to use it as an advantage. Okay. Some people don't know what commitment is. And some people don't, man. That comment doesn't even require any. I don't even expound on it. That's just, some people don't know what commitment is, but they want people to be committed to them. They take the word commitment out and they replace it with loyalty. That's why you have to start taking accountability for yourself and for your actions. And by doing that, that's going to create healthy boundaries for you. And again, that just goes right back on into what I've been saying all the time this evening. Once you start setting healthy boundaries for yourself, people are going to get upset that you will not allow them to use you the way they've been using you. You are supposed to remain oblivious. You're not supposed to better yourself at all. Because a lot of people benefit from you staying the way you are and not growing. Understanding the true meaning of accountability makes us strong and enable us to learn. And see, this quote backed up what I just said. When you take accountability, you become stronger and you learn. And folks don't want that from you. That's, and what I'm about to say now can also open up a whole nother conversation. You got to be careful when you allow people to pray for you, because people will come to you. Don't you know I'm praying, Mr. Himself? I'm praying for you. I prayed for you last night, Mr. Himself. And Mr. Himself is saying there, man, thank you for praying for me. I need to keep on praying for me. But what they are not telling you is they praying for your downfall. They praying for you not to make it. They praying for something to happen to you. Why? Because they are threatened by you. You got to be careful for that. You got to be careful. Excuse me, I have to sneeze. All right. Restoring responsibility and accountability is essential to the economic and fiscal health of our nation. If you are building a culture where honest expectations are communicated and peer accountability is the norm, then the group will address poor performance and attitudes. And don't you know that you have some people that don't want you calling out their poor attitude, they poor performance? You just walking around, just you uncooperative, you don't get along well with others, you just a whole problem in yourself, but you keep on passing it and pushing it off on some other people. A lot of us need to go back to elementary school, because in elementary school, that's where we will learn about responsibility and accountability, how to work well with others, how to get along, how to compliment. And folks have lost touch of that. All this whole independent attitude that this world is pushing onto others has made us a selfish people. And like I said, it's downright childish, and you're not growing. So much so you're starting to see grown adults purposely misuse words. For example, singular and plural. We learned about singular and plural back in elementary school. We know singular is individual, man, woman, child, person. We know plural is a group. Men, women, children, people. But for some reason, we want to act cute and ignorant. And when we are talking, we'll take out the word man when we're talking about an individual person, and we'll say men. If you look in social media, you will see how immature people are even in their communication. And you want people to take you serious as a grown adult, but you ain't even checking that. Immaturity on all levels. Because you're immature in this level, it's going to carry over to other levels. If you talk like a child, be prepared to get treated like a child by somebody. Good men are bound by conscience and liberated by accountability. Good men are bound by conscience and liberated by accountability. You are liberated by your accountability. You are set free by your accountability. When you take ownership for your actions, what you do, what you say, what you think, you become free, point blank, period. You become a prisoner when you keep blaming others, and you can expect no relationship to flourish. No relationship until you address every part of your life where you can tighten up. You can't demand that this world gives you this, that, and the 14th, but you are putting out childish energy. You can't sit here and say you want a grown woman or you want a grown man in your relationship and you sitting back acting childish. You're going to get what it is that you are on the inside. So if you are dark, if you are cold, if you are insensitive, you don't care, that's what you're going to attract to you. Some want to be exempt. They do not want to excel. They do not want to exert. They want to be considered excellent for desiring to be held exempt from accountability. That's read it again. Some want to be exempt. I remember when I was in high school and I got exempt from my finals. That meant that I successfully completed the course by making a grade high enough to where I don't even have to take the final exam. The final exam is not going to make or break me. If I fail that final exam, I still am going to graduate. So I'm exempt. I was so happy when I was exempt from my finals as a senior. And listen, I graduated back in 2004, right? So in 2 years, we're going to be celebrating what? 20 years that I've been out of high school. I didn't graduate college. I gotta finish. Holding myself accountable for that. But when it came to graduating high school, I was exempt. And a lot of people want to be exempt from being held accountable. They do not want to excel. In a car, when my major line of or my career path has been call center career path, from customer service to escalations to sales, customer service, right? And the highest level that you can get on your metrics was excelling. I didn't want to exceed the expectations. I wanted the highest payout, which was excelling. I'm up there. Some people don't want to excel. They do not want to exert. They want to be considered excellent. People that don't take accountability well, all they want you to do, don't pay attention to my flaws. Don't other than that, I'm perfect. I'm excellent. How does that make sense? This is the world we live in though. The moment you call somebody out for their tomfoolery, the moment you call somebody out for their childish behavior, oh, that's a problem then. They became Superman and you just pulled out the kryptonite. Accountability is kryptonite. Anyone can possess, anyone can profess, but it's an altogether different thing to confess. Confession, come clean. A lot of y'all are not taking your problems to the Lord in prayer in the show. Now, am I telling you to convert? Nope. I'm just telling you my observation. So many people don't even want to listen to God no more. Why? Because God holds you accountable. I said to my followers on YouTube all the time. There are two Jesus Christ in this world. There are two. You got the Jesus Christ of the Bible, and you got the Jesus Christ of the world. The Jesus Christ of the Bible preaches and teaches accountability, discipline. You couldn't do every single thing that you wanted to do when it comes to the Jesus in the Bible. The epitome of a true father figure. The Jesus of the world is the Antichrist. And it's so sad, but a lot of people are falling and following that Jesus. Because that Jesus Jesus tells you don't pass judgment, you don't call out anything, you love everybody and everything. Everybody and everything. And God didn't, Jesus in the Bible didn't do that. I'm just keeping it real. If you think I'm lying, look it up. If you try to critique someone in this world, that's a problem. Cancel culture is coming for you. You are not supposed to pass any type of judgment. You're not supposed to call out any type of behavior. You're supposed to love any and everything. Intentions do not insulate us from the consequences of our actions. Intentions do not insulate us from the consequences of our actions. Just because you was intentional in doing whatever it is that you did, that's not going to put you in some type of bubble to protect you from the consequence that's fixing to happen, whether that consequence be good or negative. The only way we succeed as a group is not simply following directions, but in keeping each other accountable for our actions. See, that's the thing. As a people, as a whole, as a community, as a black man living in America, a part of the black community, the reason why we continuously fail as a community is because we cannot hold each other accountable. I have a channel on YouTube where I call out conscious scammers within our community. People that look like you and I, and they say they have the best intentions for the black community, but they scamming and swindling the black community the whole time. We can't get ahead because we hold ourselves back. And one of the major reasons why that happens is because I can't hold you accountable for your actions. And until we can do that as a people, you can expect for us to continue to be in the place where we are. Nobody said that change feels good. It hurts when you go to the gym and lift weights, but you like the results from pumping the iron, doing the cardio, doing the sit-ups, doing the push-ups. You like it, right? For those that are in the gym, that are exercising, trying to be healthy, it don't always feel good. It hurts. The song says, no pain, no gain. Everyone has to understand that we do not operate in an exceptional lifestyle. If I'm saying it right, what I'm trying to say is a lot of people try to be the exception to the norm. Just like I saw a post on, and I'm just making this example, not changing the topic to this conversation. What I'm saying is, I saw a post on social media, and the post said that women don't check on the mental health of men. It was a general statement. Women don't check on the mental health of men. And the person went on to explain that men are expected to protect women and, make sure they're good. But in return, who's checking on us to make sure we're good? And of course, things like that creates conversations that are kind of touchy. And so you had a lot of women coming under the post that was trying to be the exception. I do. Oh, I do all the time. I do. But as a collective, the post is saying we don't have enough of the I do's that's in the chat to push that on the totality of the community. So in that example, I'm not saying that women do that. I'm just using that example. So in that example, it's self-explanatory. We can't sit back and try to use the exception as the overall way that we move, and like that's not normal. Exceptions are just exceptions. Like, here's the exception to the normal. All right. Accountability and self-responsibility are critical to our success in personal, professional, and public life. However, we often look for those character traits in others rather than in In rather than insulating, or nope, I'm gonna get it in something in ourselves. Listen, what this thing is trying to say is that we often look for the traits in others. We want to call out what we see in other people. But when it comes to calling out that same character trait in yourself, oh, no, I don't do that. I would argue again, you may be borderline narcissistic. You steadily grow into becoming your best as you choose to be accountable and accept responsibility for improvement. Listen, the reason why I say in my argument, the reason why a lot of people don't like to take accountability is because they really don't want to become a better version of themselves. They want you to accept them the way that they are. The answer to criticism and critique is achievement. A lot of people don't want to be criticized because they feel like I'm perfect. I don't have any flaws. I'm perfect. You're perfectly imperfect. I'll say that. Stay away from people that exhibit that type of behavior. You have to stay away from people that's not ready to grow. See, the reason why you can't get ahead in life, you may have been like really going at something, really pouring your all into it. It's the company that you keep. Just like you have a garden with beautiful flowers, the reason why the garden remains beautiful is because people tend to the garden. Meaning when the weeds come, they get the weeds out of there. When the little animals come, they eat the flowers, they get them out of there. They get everything that's going to come against that garden. They tend to it and they drive the foolishness away. What we have a problem is we want to be friends with the weeds. Oh, I can't cut them off. They're my friends. And they're weeds. And as you grow, they are consuming your nourishment and you don't even realize it, to the point that they gonna stunt your growth and they gonna strangle you out. You want to party and get down with the weeds. You want to be friends with the hamsters, or not hamsters, the groundhogs and the moles that's in the ground, that's there to tear the garden up and cause harm. You trying to be friends with it. All because can't nobody tell you that those people over there don't mean you no good. You don't want to be held responsible for choosing to go with those people and they got you out here looking foolish. But once you make that decision to cut those people off, it's a reason why they say it's lonely at the top. It's a reason why eagles soar by themselves, because once you start reaching certain altitudes, everybody ain't gonna be able to climb that high. Hell, majority of the people are scared of heights anyway. Whether that be scared of heights on a physical plane, or even scared of heights on an inspirational plane, trying to better themselves. Some people are scared of heights. And some people don't want you climbing up because they gonna be left behind because they not finna get up there because it's too high. Make yourself accountable, and your friends will hold themselves to a high standard. If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you, and that'll change the people around you. Let me say it again, because I know a lot of people didn't hear what I said. If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you, and that will change the people around you. You'll get it once you finally log off of Bigo and you land under the covers trying to rub your feet together and fall asleep. And then, oh man, favorite energy. That's what he meant. Open collaboration encourages greater accountability, which in turn fosters trust. Open collaboration. Open collaboration encourages greater accountability. If you can't stand the heat, you better get out the kitchen. It's true. For most people, blaming others is a subconscious mechanism for avoiding accountability. In reality, the only thing in your way is you. Steve Maraboli, listen. Some people are so used to blaming others, they mind don't switch to autopilot. It's just like back in the day, Bart Simpson from The Simpsons. When he would clearly do something, first thing I didn't do it. Like, bro, you just dropped the plate and broke the glass plate. I didn't do it. You have people in real life that are avoiding accountability, and they want to blame others, and they do it subconsciously because their mind just automatically is programmed to do that. On one side of accountability is courage. On the other side is freedom. It takes courage to hold yourself accountable, because sometimes you might have just completely shown your butt. I mean, you were just out here doing some of the most whatever disrespectful whatever, and you want to better yourself, so you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and confess to this. I did this. It took a lot of courage for you to do that. And now that you have owned up to that, you can now set yourself free. Powerful stuff, man. Never promise more than you can perform. Never do that. Never. It's all about being a man or woman of your words. Again, the thing is, a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I'm gonna call you back. Let's just take calling somebody back. You know, you're on the phone with somebody. Oh, I got a call coming. I'm gonna call you right back. And then you answer the call. Then you get off the phone, and you don't call that person that you said you was gonna call right back. A lot of people will look at that as, well, you know, it's something that happens. It is, you know, it is. However, you have to hold yourself accountable, because you're not following through with what you just said. Now, if you told the person, hey, I got a call coming through, let me call you back another time, or let me call you back. Just saying, let me call you back. You're not setting an expectation of when you're going to call back, but you're going to call them back. And so you are staying true with the words that you said. Saying I'll call you right back and not calling right back after you conclude the other call, well, you just lied. And whether it was on a small level or on a major level, that's why you got to be careful with what you say, because unknown, you ain't even paying attention to that. You know, I just said right back. To me, right back means I'm gonna call them back, you know, whatever. The words we speak are spelled. That's why they tell you to spell. Anyway, that's going into a whole nother conversation within itself. And never promise more than you can deliver. Don't make broken promises to people. You don't want people promising you stuff and breaking the promises. Don't promise to other people and break the promise. If you promise folks and you don't come through, well, people gonna promise you and not come through for you. Ownership, a commitment of the head, heart, and hands to fix the problem and never again affix the blame. Ownership. And that's what we need to do more of. More ownership. Right? If you are just now tuning in to our broadcast, we are sitting here talking about inspiring accountability. And we had a great conversation. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more content. But that's all for tonight. It's your boy KKC, and I will see you guys next time. Peace. But I wasn't